Greater Than 0% is a 501c3 nonprofit that's on a mission to share stories of organizations from around the world that are changing lives. We have weekly episodes featuring amazing nonprofits and monthly episodes interviewing top business executives. You can find us at gtzp.org on your preferred streaming or social media platforms. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy this episode.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to this episode. Today, we have Adelaide Canino, who's the founder and CEO of Dev46. Adelaide, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me, Joseph. And it's a pleasure to be on board with you guys and spending some minutes today together. Thank you.
So we always love to get started by just you starting off by providing the mission statement. So what is the mission of Dev46?
I have to tell you, the mission is evolving. The more I have engagement with my students, my mission is to bring more girls into technology. That is the core mission, specifically Latinas. And why Latinas? We're only 1.7% in the industry, in the tech workforce. So if we're looking for inclusion and that innovative mind, it's a diverse playing field that we need. And that's why I started Dev46, to give girls here in Puerto Rico another option. They don't have to be beauticians, or they don't have to be, cooks, or there's something more. And today, the 21st century student is asking for more and different.
Yeah, awesome. I have a couple questions, but I got to hold myself back. So why you? Why is this something that you're devoting your time and passions to?
We can only do this through personal experience. We can only get there unless we really know what it's like. And it brings me to a place where my children, I moved here from New York to Puerto Rico 12 years ago. And when I first moved here, I had a great career in New York. It was wonderful. It was fast. It was large. It was larger than life. And so I wanted to be able to be connected more with my kids, with nature, with the ocean. And Puerto Rico's, it's where my ancestors are, right? But I've not lived here ever.
Right.
So it's a whole different culture in essence. And then education, it is a different animal. In the States, we have more opportunities to be able to say, hey, I want my kid either in private school or in public school, and you decide public school because the area you live in pretty much affords that public education through state taxes. And so we don't have that here in Puerto Rico. We're not a state. We don't have state taxes. What we do have is a lot of funding from the U.S. Department of Education. And so with that, when I first moved here, my kids were in private school because I thought that's the only option. If I'm going the path as what we started in New York, that's the only option for the kids. When I became a single parent, that was not an option. That now become a privilege because
Right.
we have to get back to basics, and it's one salary. And it's one salary in an island country where over 50% of the population live in poverty. So salaries, when I say salary, it's not comparable to that of the States. We're about 20 to 40% less here in Puerto Rico. So I had my own business, try to do as I could to keep the kids in private school, and I couldn't anymore. Within a year after becoming a single parent, my kids went into the public school system, and that's where it all changed. I thought I was that parent who could engage with their child, and we can read together and we could do things together. But it was a quite rapid evolution for the kids. And by what I mean is the kids went from a structured, very disciplined environment to an environment where it was, gosh, short of being chaotic for a child.
Mm.
And then they're in those ages where it's sensitive. They're moving from a little person into a teenager, and there's
Yeah.
emotions and there's chemistry and there's a lot for them. And so it was a tough 4 years in high school with both boys, a very tough 4 years in high school. And so as I started getting back into what is going on, I myself went back to school to complete my master's in applied leadership and global management. And in that process, there was a team project, and we were bringing education to a remote area in Guatemala where the Constitution explicitly eliminates indigenous people. So if there was a relation that I could make here to Puerto Rico is that at its core, the people are considered indigenous from the Taínos civilization. So I knew that there was something I could leverage here in Puerto Rico, being my home. When I opened the books and found no data, because Puerto Rico keeps no data,
Mm.
very little of it, I didn't know what I was up against, Joseph. I didn't know how to begin, but I knew I wanted to. And I knew that the time is now. It's not the future. It's not 2 years from now, because the pandemic pushed us to learn a little bit more, to try and capture the learning loss that we've had for 2 years. But guess what? Puerto Rico is not 2 years. It's 7 years if we count from Hurricane Maria forward, but it's really decades in the making. And so we have to do it differently, because the kids today are not an instructional being. We can't continue to ask them to be resilient, to bounce back. Why are we asking them to bounce back when we can barely bounce back, when or we're so engaged in our own world and environment and social media? And so it's different because we're losing the capacity and the potential now if we don't help them out. We basically tell them indirectly, I just want you to stop dreaming. Just do
Mm.
as your family has always done. We don't farm, we don't cultivate, we don't manufacture here in the island. We're bringing in and introducing investment, but we know that's not economic development. Economic development starts within. And if we're not pushing within, we'll do without. It's much like artificial intelligence. If you're not engaging in AI, AI will not replace you. It will be the human who knows AI that will replace you. So it's a fear factor, but it's a realistic one in where we are today with education. Education is not creative. It's not creative. It's not fun. It has nothing to do with the child anymore. It has to do about all these objectives, instructions, and assessment. Ask a teacher how happy she is. She's too busy using 80% of her time behind a computer pushing paper or pushing email, and
Mm.
20% trying to meet up with these standards. Where is creativity in the classroom? We've lost touch, and the kids
Yeah.
today were asking for that. They want to be their own.
What has been your connection to the tech industry uh, and led to that Dev 46 inception, and why technology is kind of the follow-up question too to that.
I have a undergrad degree in IT, BSIT.
Mm.
So my love and passion for technology has been years in the making. It's over
Yeah.
20 years. My first machine was, what is it, Windows 95. I started in
Yeah. Yeah.
Windows, where we dialed in and we were there, and then AOL would allow us in or kick us out, and you continue. So all of that troubleshooting and frustration and created this logical thinking. It just organically happened where this level of learning just evolved and continuously evolved. And it would continuously evolve because technology changes. And the
Yep.
advantage was that I wasn't the consumer. I was also trying to see what was in the back end. So I would literally dismantle my desktop to see what the hardware was about and the memory chips, and the monitor. I would just plug and play was literally a plug and play, and you dipped
Yeah.
in the CD and stuff. So that was me. And so it just continued. And then I pushed into the insurance industry because it was safe. I had the kids, but I tinkered on the back end. I would always have
Yeah.
a line or two. I tinkered on the back end with tech. I moved here to Puerto Rico, started a business. Technology was at the forefront. I had this little, badass iPad with a POS system. And that's how I was able to scan everything. And it was just, it was awesome. I was about 10 years ago. And so at home, I have what I don't have these days is home. I don't have any of those applications monitoring or lighting up anything, but everything else I pretty much have. The high speed internet must be. So that it's been theirs. And when I started, there weren't that many Latinas, if any. I was like this one child in a group of boys. It was literally a
Yep.
boys club. It was a much nicer boys club actually than it is today. But yeah, so it was sweet. And so I guess it's, identifying with that yin and yang, that little tomboy in me that really love the things that we can succeed in, and it's interesting because girls are actually better in STEM than boys are, but we don't move in that direction as much. So with Dev 46, we're starting them. Honestly, if you left it to me, I would start in pre-K, just introducing
Yeah.
reading and math. I would start in pre-K, and we can get some block coding in there in the pre-K level.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just
Block coding. Definitely.
right. If it's just to infuse that logical thinking and start building up and that creative thought. They're little sponges, and I don't know when we stopped being a sponge, where we thought at some point we reached this age and we know it all. Because at this point, I'm still learning, so, and I'm learning much more through them and with them. So, yeah, that's
Yep.
us.
All right.
Our first year,
Yeah.
we've done a really good job. We've done a really good thing.
Yeah. So you said 1.7% was a statistic that you threw out. Is that of Latinas that are girls and women specifically, or is that Latinas in general in the industry 1.7?
That's Latinas in general. So that'll be
Okay,
in
gotcha.
America, any in Puerto Rico, the United States.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that number, when
And
it's
it
girls in tech globally, I believe we're at about 25, 26. We're always lingering between those two percentages. And
mhm,
girls who code is doing a phenomenal job. They're actually a Goliath in comparison to us, but they're doing a beautiful job
yep,
getting the message and spreading the message stateside. In the Caribbean, we really don't have one. We don't have a
right,
girls who code chapter here. You know, my thing is I love what they're doing, but my thing is we need to develop the individual. And that's where that personal development component in our program comes in, involving the individual to authorize their growth is what we push because we don't know capacity until we know and we really don't in the scheme of things. So that's us. We have
right,
three
right.
major components in our program. And the reason I created those components is because they all work together. Nutrition, Puerto Rico has a 20% prevalent rate of diabetes. That's it. We're 20% over the US. Our sugar intake is just about everything, and it's cultural, except sugar is
Mm,
not, which artificial sugar used to be. There's so much more involved in it. So we look at hyperpalatable foods and what it does. We give them the nutrition education. what it does, especially to women and emotions. It can make us more enthusiastic or more passionate. And those are some of the effects of sugar. So we want to allow the child, the student, the beneficiary to understand that food is also fuel. It's not to fill your stomach, to have you run, make you durable for the long haul. The personal development component is, as we know, so many of our kids, stateside as here in Puerto Rico. I think here in Puerto Rico, our kids have suffered a little bit more post Hurricane Maria. And personal development, self esteem, mentorship, those words we don't hear often here. We don't have the structured baseball clubs, the structured basketball league that a kid could sign up. When my son, who's a basketball enthusiast, I would have to go a couple towns over to get him into a little team. So that was, taxing on me because I'm driving about an hour to get him to a team. But this is where we are here. So the social emotional component is very important. The garden project, because it's the youth and nutrition and garden project combined with the personal development element, those two, they will work together and then
Hmm.
allow this individual to move and be more in charge of their learning in technology, and is getting that individual to become a part of the 21st century tech workforce. We have a lot of work to do here in Puerto Rico. Our math and reading rates are practically zeroed out post pandemic. We are not competing with stateside assessment. It's an opportunity for Dev 46 because the path is just clear and wide open. And we're such
Yeah.
a small population, scalability is much faster. So
Yeah. Yeah.
for us, we don't see like, oh my dear, this is what's going on seriously. We say, no, wow, look what we can do. We've got products out there. Joseph, I'm not inventing or reinventing anything. Just integrating what already exists.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then want to duplicate throughout the island and possibly into other parts of the Caribbean to allow more girls to understand that, yeah, technology, we can all be consumers, and all of us as well can be creators because
Yeah.
we have a lot of issues to be solved. And we need to include many more than just Latinas and minorities, veterans,
Yeah.
LGBTQ. It needs to be an inclusive, coherent effort. And that's what
Okay.
Dev
And
46 rides on.
I captured two of them. You said nutrition. So the three pillars of your programming: one's nutrition, two's personal development, and then the third you said was that
It's
the technology
technology,
component.
is the
Okay.
technology component. So, we do the inverse. We work on the individual parallel with providing the tech classes. And we go
Right.
from
Right.
kindergarten all the way up to, because wow, the inventory is quite large. It's over 1,000 kids here that we
Hmm.
can impact in my little community. We have 1,000 kids from kindergarten to 12. We
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
unfortunately, 20% of our high school graduates go on to higher education. And a lot of it has to do with a mindset, or a pers- a financial barrier. So we're trying to remove all of that for them.
Yeah.
And we provide the access so that they can have the opportunity, much like their US counterparts. That's all we do.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've interviewed a couple nonprofits that support youth, and a couple that are in the technology space as well. And one of the things that I remember speaking about with those organizations is that usually the average salaries of people in professions in the tech industry are higher than kind of the normal salary at whatever the average salary is of a country or of the U.S. or Puerto Rico. Typically, tech jobs are on the higher range of that. And that kind of leads to a good reason as to why tech would be a focus for building generational wealth. And then organizations that we've interviewed have had like pretty extensive alumni programs too, where they stay engaged with the youth that have gone through the programming and want to come back and continue supporting an organization that helped them, get through their education or their technology career, get to that job. And that's kind of an interesting, sustainable way to support their organization is kind of supporting these kids, these women, these girls, these youth early on to be able to get the tech degrees and tech positions and then have an extensive, alumni program so they could come back and help out, whether it's donating their time or their, capital to keep the momentum going of an organization like Dep 46. So that's an interesting model.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if yeah, if that's kind of in the plans or how long it has been since y'all have been in operations, if you have any alumni yet. But no, it's just an interesting perspective and sustainable model. Yeah.
But I have to tell you, what you're referring to is the short-term credentials, and it works for us. I'll tell you why. Because our poverty rate is so high, and
Mm,
our dropout rate is so high, and
mm,
so we have the talent, we have the human resources, we don't have the access or the opportunity. So short-term
mhm,
credentialing right now is most useful. And if you look at emerging economies, Uganda, Vietnam, Latin America is doing awesome things over there in Colombia and Peru and Mexico, where short-term credentialing is helping tech companies, create little tech hubs in Colombia. Let's put Medellin, creating little tech hubs. And we know that that stimulates and supports a startup economy. So Def 46, it's introducing, but it's also keeping in line with what's out there right now. And how do we do that? We partner up with, you know, when I began writing my business plan, my intention was clear. I am going to partner up with the brand names that are making an impact in urban America, in areas that other places aren't being looked at. And the only one I could look at, truthfully, regardless what anything, is Google. And so I intentionally not went after, but desired that partnership because
yeah.
through Google, I can allow or the beneficiaries, our beneficiaries can continue that lifelong learning skill, can continue
Yeah.
learning about their pathway. Hey, you don't want to be a data analytics anymore. Let's move into what? Something less stressful, IT support. And so we allow that with them. Once they're a student of ours, they will remain a student for a lifetime. We want them
Yeah.
to come back and continue their learning. We want them also to give back and pay it forward up their time. But our first year, gosh, Joseph, we started May 17th of 2022. And what haven't
Yeah.
we done? Our website
Yeah,
went
talk me
live.
through it. Talk to me about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, your website looks amazing. I'd love to hear how it has been since May of last year. I mean, it's you've only been in operations for 13 months, so let's
Yeah.
hear the accomplishments so
It's
far.
been wow, it's been a beautiful growth and sharing my story, sharing Deb 46 birth and little toddler has been beautiful. But since May last year, I created our website, went full on with research mode. I knew exactly the themes I wanted to touch in. But if I look at that website, it's beautiful. It's absolute, and I'll always save it. But we need to push forward to where we are right now, where we are. After going live, we became a 501(c)(3) that same month in May, and then pushed forward to become a Puerto Rico nonprofit,
Hmm.
won the Bait in Kind grant of our first 15 iPads, and then won the Kenneth L. Kartz racial equity grant of $10,000. And that's what pushed us right into our pilot program and adopting a local school here for kindergarten through 7. And that gave us the opportunity to purchase the iPads, purchase licenses,
Yeah.
and get them rolling with math and reading. impacting the first 80 kids through my after school program. And so
Wow.
I am so proud, so proud. None of
Yeah.
yeah, none of our kids are proficient. And
Wow.
once again, those are opportunities. And so we know where they are because now we've captured the data. And so we know what we need to do to pivot from here. And their reading, I had no expectations on their reading ability, but they're reading at or above grade level. And I am so proud of them because English is their second language. So if they're reading and comprehending, we're doing damn good. So I don't look at the
Yeah.
40% data and I don't look at the 0% data. I look at what my data is capturing and how I can pivot from here. And so for the 23-24 school year, we have just curated a little bit more to our program so that we can define it for the kids and not just give them a goal of 5 lessons a week. Let's give them a goal and let's allow them to see their rewards, their efforts through rewards. And so we have certificates for reading as well for math. We have little parties and events for them just to take a minute and
Yeah.
to unplug. And so this is what we're looking at. So that was the Kenneth Out cards. Then from there, I said, you know what? I think I want Code Next here from Google. And so I just inquired and we were told it wasn't available in Puerto Rico. So my heart sank a little
Mm.
bit, but I said, not a problem. Let's go over to code.org because that's another reputable company. And I want to deal with the guys that will bring the opportunity to kids, the demographics that I'm working with. And so lo and behold, I one afternoon I go into my workspace in Google Drive and I see this folder drop into my workspace. And it was about 2 days after I contacted code.org, or about no, just shy of a week, I'm sorry. And it's Google. It's a RFP request by Google Code Next. And so
Oh,
I said, "Oh, my dear, I'm taking this opportunity." And so we won the grant,
yeah.
applied in July,
Wow.
won the grant by August, and started a pilot program with the high school kids in November of
Wow.
2022. And that was an amazing experience. Amazing. We went to a community center and worked on a little garden project, took them to a workspace so they got real work experience on what it's like to maybe be a nomad or remote work, what that looks like, and then brought them
Yeah.
home, my home. I know I'm not supposed to do this as a teacher, but it's okay. We bring back creativity and love in the classroom.
Yeah.
Brought them to my home and let them see and experience what it's like to work from home and the importance of quiet spaces. And so we went through a lot, had some young women speak with them for mentorship and guidance. And so that was November. We finished that pilot program in March. And then, oh my gosh, the kids just without a 2 page. I was teaching HTML intro to web development. So I was teaching them HTML and CSS, and 5 students enrolled, 5 students graduated with certificates, and they completed their project of 2 pages. We could have had more bells and whistles there, but damn, Joseph, I am proud of each and every one of them.
Yeah.
Through that, we had 3 girls. So I always want to maintain a percentage more of girls enrolled because,
Right.
we need everyone involved. So we had 3 girls graduate with certificates and the 2 young men. And it was a beautiful, beautiful experience and took them out to dinner and it was great. So that was in March. Roll back to February of 2023. We won 10 iPads from Liberty, Puerto Rico, which is the cell service and the internet company here. So we won 10 iPads. And then in April 2023, we became official partners in the Conex project. And then in
Mm.
May, we became official partners in the Google Grow with, no, Grow with Google partnership. And that's where we offer the short term credentials. So we've been rolling.
Right. Right.
And so, yeah,
Wow.
for a year, we've been rolling. Our first year, we captured 85 students, impacted 85 students, had 100% graduation rate for my first cohort with computer science, and then had a 70% login rate with my little people, K through 7. And so we know we've got
Yeah.
opportunity to step it up a notch. And that's where we are present day, actually. As of the middle of May, we have an official hold. So we'll be at 25 Calle Progreso. And what is Calle Progreso? Is
Wow.
25 Progress Street in English.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're under construction and I am so stoked. It's surreal. It's really surreal. And just being engaged with these young people. We have 3 new students in the Grow with Google scholarship program. We won 500
Yeah.
scholarships. So, yeah, we've got good work to do and just pounding out with the grants, one man show here, pounding out with the grants. But yeah,
Yeah.
we're in it for the long haul.
What's the long-term plan before we wrap up the conversation? I'd love to hear about what's your vision for the future.
Oh, within the next 2 years, I hope to get into one of the largest school regions here in Puerto
Mhm.
Rico, which is my region, Mayagüez, where we over 39,000 kids are certified enrolled K through 12 there for all of us. So with that, I would like ideally to have exactly what we're doing right now in Rincon, get a little 2-level house, convert it into a tech hub, just have little pockets of tech hubs strategically placed throughout the island where the most
Yeah.
concentration is needed. Within 5 years, I would like to have 3 of them. The first 2 years, I want to concentrate right now what we're opening, make this template
Mhm.
something where we could duplicate, and it's not that difficult at
Yeah.
all because the programs are simple and volunteers are always welcome, right? But it's simple enough where we could duplicate and to other parts of the regions. I know San Juan, which is the eastern part, we're on the west side of the island. They're doing phenomenal stuff there with technology and students. We're taking
Mhm.
that approach and leaving it there, but moving here in the west side, south side, where we don't have as many. West side has no tech hub, no technology curriculum, anything at all. So this is our opportunity here on the west side to duplicate and push on to the south side. And that's where we are for the next 5 years. Obviously, we would love to impact at least 20 to 30 at risk youth, moving them into at promise within the next year. And that's through the Google program, Grow with Google. Although that program is self-paced, we will provide instruction for them. So it's not going to be an open scholarship. We'll have, whichever 4 or 2, depending on which is most popular, we'll open it up so we can have the most impact and the most enrollees and then help them stay. It's not about just capturing them. The kids, it was a difficult journey with the high school kids. It meant being a taxi driver and going to get them in other parts of the town because they didn't have
Yeah.
transportation, or making sure they went to bed early. It was being that parent because they don't have that guidance at home. So, yeah, it's trying to push that way and
Awesome.
providing them with the resources so that we can retain them. And that's a goal.
Right.
The retention is going to be much more difficult than capturing the bodies because it would be all this
Yeah.
excitement and then it dies out, and that's what we don't want.
Yeah. So people that are listening, if they want to get engaged, where could they find you? First question, and then what type of engagement do you look for? Obviously, like donations, but volunteers, people to speak in person, virtually, technologists. I'd love to hear the
We
answers to
would
those
love
questions.
to have I'm gonna start rolling out a micro volunteering little program because we know that time is usually a big factor. We'll take in virtual, but we would love to have more women in technology become a mentor.
Yep.
Or if you're a Latina in technology and you just don't know how to just, get involved anywhere, please reach out to us. Our email is saludos@dev46.org, and I manage all that account, and I respond to all my inquiries for volunteer. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes a week. If that's all you can do, we'll take that, because that 30 minutes, multiply in the course of 3 months, that's a relationship. There's a connection that's already been formed. And
Yeah.
technology, while we love in person socialization, technology has broken the barriers, and we've known this. Now we've just taken the chance to cross them. So that's what we need right now for the immediate future. Obviously, if you're a garden, if you love or you can give yoga and meditation will be a part of our personal development curriculum. And if you want to give little yoga classes virtual to little kids, we'll have someone at the classroom. If you want to offer up, if you're in Rincon or in Puerto Rico and you want to offer up some garden or community time, we'll welcome that.
Hmm.
Always take in donations for seeds. Everything starts at the seed, obviously. So please, yeah, contact us at 939-212-4020. That's our little phone number. And our email is saludos, SALS and Larry, UDOS at dev46.org. And whatever else you could
Amazing.
think of.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your time, Adelaide. Thank you so much for sharing your story and the work you're doing at Dev 46. We're honored to share it. And folks that are listening, get engaged if any of those outlets are possible for you. And to learn more information, go to the email address and the website that we'll share in the show notes as well. But thank you, Adelaide, so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
Cool. Thank you guys. Take care. Have a beautiful rest of day. Joseph, take care, and thank you for the opportunity once again. Be well.